You do not finish the book, you do not finish the content, you finish the problem. You are waiting for the next Andrew Huberman episode, just like people wait for the next Mr. Beast video. You tell yourself it is different just because the thumbnail has a different person on it and he is not screaming like Mr. Beast is. It's not different, it's the exact same thing. And you are just consuming. And I did the same thing. See, whether you read 50 books a year or 5 books a year, whether you watch every new episode of every new podcast or you watch some random esoteric guy on YouTube who is yapping about self improvement, it does not matter because your life never really changes in the long amount of time, like in 6 months, in 12 months. Your habits do not go away, nothing changes, it absolutely remains stagnant. All that you have now is just a bit of guilt that I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have used the last 12 months to learn something. You just have the guilt. You do not have any actions or any results to prove. That is not a discipline problem. That is a action problem. That is a consistency problem. You believe consuming is the thing, is the golden key, is the golden egg or whatever it is called. You believe consuming is the thing that is going to give you the results. That unfortunately is not the case. You have to do the work to for the work to actually get done. Consuming without a specific problem in your mind to fix is just entertainment with better branding. And the thing is, consuming is just a simulation of doing. It's not actually doing the stuff. It's like you are thinking about doing the stuff, and your brain cannot distinguish between the two. Your brain thinks doing the stuff is basically equivalent to thinking of doing the stuff. That is why, famously, the experiments where people are told to do the basketball, like put the basketball in the hoop, they get better results after not practicing, after just visualizing. That is why visualization works. Visualization works because people think whenever they are doing something, let's say for example a pianist is playing a piano and he is thinking of playing the piano without actually playing it, his hand moves the way it moves, the keys are being pressed, the specific chord progression is there, whatever. People enact that image so many times in their brain, and that is why they visualize it, and that is why their brain feels like, all right, I know this stuff, I have actually done it, even though the brain has not done it. But what happens in your case is you are consuming bullshit media which allows you not to visualize clearly and which allows you to feel the progress without actually having the progress in you. The problem is you do not have any kind of progress. You assume, you are made to feel that you have some kind of progress, that this is esoteric knowledge, that this is very important in changing your life, while it is actually not. And this is what Cal Newport calls pseudo work. You know, the guy who wrote the book Deep Work. That guy calls it pseudo work, and pseudo work basically means, pseudo means false, right? So this basically means false work. Your brain cannot distinguish the difference between real work and false work, and that is why it feels false work is real work. Duh. You are not the guy who applies, you're the guy who watches. Actually, let me use my whiteboard to demonstrate it better, and I'll use the power of editing right now. See, I'll draw it up for you clearly. On one side, there are two sides. On one side, you have the guy who consumes, guy who takes actions. Right. So, what is the main motto of this guy? Say he has got +1 notification, like somebody dropped a random podcast or random video on YouTube. He's going to go, he's going to watch it, he's going to feel productive. He's going to not do task because he already feels productive, and that video itself is a task he is doing right now instead of doing the actual task, which means he will not move towards his goal. So he has therefore not accomplished his goal, and he will again go into the loop because he feels he is, that is not a age, what the hell is wrong with you, Ankush? He is not productive. So the reason why he feels not productive instead of even though he felt productive is because he does not do the task, and the task does not get done. Active voice, passive voice. Basically what I'm trying to say is, at first he feels productive, The reason is because he is gaining new knowledge, or he thinks so. He already knows the knowledge, but he believes that he is getting new knowledge because it's a new video with a new thumbnail with a new title. Then the task does not get done and the reprimands come. Like, let's say you did not submit a essay in school, let's say you did not submit a homework in school and the teacher punishes you. That is the reprimand. Let's say you did not earn, that is the reprimand that not doing the goal brings towards you. And that is why he does not feel productive again. He feels like he has wasted the time. He feels like he needs a solution. He needs a new strategy to attack his problems. And that is why he again goes in the cycle of consuming and then feeling productive and then not doing the task and then becoming again not productive at all. Now, on the other hand, there is the guy who takes actions. He, very plainly speaking, takes action. I mean, there is nothing else you can do. And there are two outcomes. One is that good action, it leads to results and he is happy. Like, assume this is happy. And on the other hand, there is bad action. There is actually nothing especially called bad action. There is more like correct action and inaccurate action, incorrect action. So there is bad action and this leads to failure, then this leads to learning, and this leads to good action, then results, then smiley face. That is the entire chart of the guy who takes action. See, there is nothing in the consuming bracket for this guy. Hiddenly speaking, there is a consuming bracket, but I'll get to that in a later part of the same video. After some time, I will be speaking about the word this guy consumes. So, be diligent for that and perhaps even note it down. But mainly speaking, this guy stays in the consuming loop. This guy does not have a loop. It has a if then statement, like if good action, then results, if bad actions, then failure, then again good action, then results. There is a very well documented effect called generation effect in psychology, which states if you apply a thing, if you apply a framework you learned, if you apply the knowledge you just learned, you will actually retain it better. And you do not even need psychology. You just need basic brain cells to understand the thing that if you apply something, you will know. Let's say you learn to tie a knot. If you do not tie a knot, you will not learn it. If you tie a knot, if you tie multiple knots, if you tie hundreds of knots, you will actually learn the shit and you will be that will be ingrained in your brain and you will actually know how to tie a knot. Now, the reading a book 52, like reading 52 books a year, which is the famous, kind of adage that people like to cling to, that I read 52 books a year, that is putting all the information in your brain that you do not need. Watching each and every new episode of different podcasts, whether it's, Andrew Huberman or Chris Williamson or Diary of the CEO or anybody else that you like to watch, any of that is not giving you what you want. It is actually giving you what they want. What they want is promotion. What they want is views. What they want is ad revenue. What they want is money. And it's not that they are sinister. It's that this is just how the game works. And I'll tell you something, being a creator myself, most of the self-improvement content is made to farm you. You are just basically a cog in the wheel, the cog in the machine, which the YouTubers use to get the money. And let's be realistic about the self-improvement niche, and especially the writing niche, because I think that is a particular thing that is which people are very much, kind of airy-fairy about, because you are the guy who is watching my video. So you are probably in like plus minus 2 to 3 years of my range. You are not certainly a 60-year-old like uncle who is watching this. And if you are, then congratulations. I do not have any words for you. Thank you for your support. But let's be realistic. Most of the self-help content, especially the books and all, that is made for a freaking like American 30-40 year old guy with a mortgage and a failing marriage and like financial crisis in his midlife or something like that. He just got fired from his job, or perhaps he does not like his job at all. That content is made for those guys, not for us who are actually having to deal with this stuff. And that is why people get famous. Like let's say Naval Ravikant and uh, Elon Musk, for example, or any of these very big gurus who are speaking so much, uh, it seems like they're speaking some esoteric stuff. The reason is that feels esoteric is because they are dropping the quotes, they are dropping the insights from their own perspective. They have already done the thing, they have already made the money, they have already made the achievement, they have already succeeded, and now they are dropping that insight not from a retroactive point of view, but they are dropping it from their own own daily life. So this means that the advice that they apply in their own daily lives is not going to be the advice that you need. The reason for that is pretty simple. Tim Ferriss wrote a book called The 4-Hour Work Week. And the 4-hour work week is just as the name suggests. In the entire week, you work 4 hours. Of course, there are different methods, like you hire your personal assistant, and then there is outsourcing and delegating and a lot of that. You will, once you read the book, you will understand. But none of that applies to you. You are probably some broke guy who does not even have an income source probably. And so hiring a personal assistant is not going to be your cup of tea. So the entire self-improvement dish is not even for you. The most of the writings, that is, most of the writings, most of the podcasts, they are not even for you. So you just should stop consuming them. And it might seem I am hating on the podcasters or something like that, but the reality is that they have built a system, and let me get my chair straight. They have built a system not for your benefit, but for their benefit. The quality has gone up in terms of the production value of the, let's say, the better cameras, the better b-rolls, the better editing, the bigger team that manages the logistics, the bigger team that manages all the sponsorships and all. That has gotten bigger. Yes, I am staying true to that. But previously, there used to be a certain level of, in Gen Z words, I would say, aura that podcasts used to have. They felt like they really solved a specific problem. Now it just feels like a debate. Now it just feels like exploration of some very nuanced thing that literally like 10 people care about, and the following has just been devoting their 2 hours of block of time to them. And that is where the next point comes in about the Parkinson's law. And if you know the Parkinson's law, then you know that work expands so as to fill the time, which is like graph goes something like this, which means if you allocate specific amount of time, let's say here is 0, here is time t. If you allocate some t naught amount of time, where is my duster? There is not even dust. There is it should be inkster. Lol. I do not use lol actually. That was meant to be just funny, just relatable to you guys. I do not even use those short forms. Anyways, moving on. Here is some t naught time, and if you allocate this much, then your work gets done. Correct. But if you continue applying more time, let's say plus delta t naught, then the work just expands. See, the work is just trailing and expanding and never ending. So the thing is, when you put exactly like, let's say you allocate 2 hours for a podcast session, you are effectively saying to yourself, all right, since this guy has uploaded, and since I like this guy, I like this guy's podcast, I like the guest, I will be allocating 2 hours of my life in watching that. Even though the advice might not be for you, even though it might not be beneficial to you at all, even though it might actually hinder your progress. And yes, there are examples of where podcasts or like self-improvement or self-help books have hindered the progress of the guy who is learning from them. Imagine, as I previously mentioned, imagine you reading 4-hour work week and applying those principles. You will grow in negative. Debt is always negative. What the hell? I was going to say you are going to get into negative debt, and then I realized debt is already negative. So basically you are going to go downhill and hit like below zero essentially in terms of financial capital if you are applying the frameworks of 4-hour work week now. But after, let's say, 10-20 years, you might have enough leverage that you can actually use the frameworks of those books like 4-hour work week. Essentially, the long form videos you consume right now have just become a big ass short compilation kind of stuff. And you know that short is destroying your brain. But unfortunately, and perhaps not many of you know this, long form videos are also absolutely fucking destroying your brain. And that is why I have not consumed a single piece of content in the last probably 2 to 3 weeks. Now, previously, as I mentioned, the guy consumes The good guy also consumes. So I'll give you his consuming protocol and kind of his consuming idea versus the guy who just consumes mindlessly. And so here we go. So there are two types of consumption. There is bad and good. Bad and good. In the bad consumption example that I previously mentioned, you might have noticed that it is a loop. And the specific problem with the bad consumption is that it has no fixed end point. And I'll explain to you what that means. This bad consumption guy, he does not have a problem to fix. He just consumes because he wants to. Let's say you come home from your school or something and you just are like, I want to consume. Your intention for the session is I want to consume. You do not have a specific intention in mind that I want to consume this, I want to consume that, or I want to consume to fix a specific problem. All you have is I want to consume. And that is why you open up your feed and you just look at whatever is there. You find a video that is attractive, that is thumbnail, whose thumbnail is very good, and you click on it and you consume it. Whereas the good guy, he actually has a system which is problem oriented. He has a specific problem to work towards. He has an exact specific need that he needs to fix, and that is why he consumes. And so this means has fixed end point. And so in one word we can call them undirected, directed, which means, let's say I'll just watch some self-improvement today. I have no clear goal to fix, but I'll just watch some new podcast that this guy dropped or new video that this YouTuber dropped or something like that. And another is directed. I know exactly what I'm going to fix and I'm going to fix it today. For example, I'll give you an example which will make you understand this very nicely, which is, let's say I need to fix the battery of my 12-year-old laptop. And yes, it is really 12 years old. I'll just go on YouTube, I'll see how to replace the battery, and I'll replace it, I'll close the tab, done. It's over. I will not spend hours of my life researching battery content. I'll not spend hours of my life watching these battery replacement videos. I'll not subscribe to the channel of those battery recommendation or battery replacement guys. No, that is stupid. I'll just know the problem, which is replace the battery, search up the solution, apply the solution, close the tab, and boom, voila, it's done. I do not even know whether I pronounced it perfectly or not, but it's done. And I'll move on with my day. Most people are on the opposite group and they like to consume the battery content, and not exactly battery content, but you get the analogy, right? Most people actually consume more than they need to. And that the reason is because they do not have a fixed endpoint. They do not have a fixed goal that they are working towards, the fixed problem that they're trying to solve. And that is why the 52 books per year narrative makes so much lot of sense, because you realize 52 books a year is nothing actually, because you do not have 52 problems a year. You perhaps have one or two major problems a year, which is like perhaps some specific business related issues, some specific study related issues, something like that. For example, which entrance exam should I give? You have a specific problem and you apply the rule and you find the solution, you find what you want to give, and then you give the exam and you find resources for the exam and you just give it. There is nothing else apart from that. And you do not need 52 books a year without any kind of direction. I mean, if you are the type of guy who just likes to have everything on his reading list, like Atomic Habits, Dostoevsky, Kafka, then I don't know, perhaps like The Untethered Soul or something like that. If you have 10 different books on your reading list, nobody is going to think you are an intellectual. Retards might think you are an intellectual because you are reading so much, but actually in reality, you have not applied a single piece of knowledge from all of those books and you are calling yourself intellectual, which is bullshit. And I'll give you some very specific example. If you wake up tired even after sleeping for hours on end, if you have a bad chronic mouth breathing issue, and if you have perhaps might say recovering issues or something like that, you're probably breathing wrong. And you should read the book by Patrick McGowan, which is The Oxygen Advantage. It gives you some of the very much well known techniques, some of the very much well known research, which allows you to make your breath significantly better. And then you will learn like different techniques, then CO2 kind of tolerance test and all. It is good. If you have a very self-critical self-image and you are just always in the negative about yourself, you think you cannot do this, you cannot do that, and you just basically have a very kind of negative self-view, go and read Maxwell Maltz, his book on psychocybernetics. It was written in 1960. The guy died in 1975. He's dead. He's not going to come up and make a new newsletter or make a new uh, tweet or a YouTube video or something like that. He's not going to ask you to watch any of his content. He's dead. But you still have the knowledge. Go and apply. Go and learn that. Go and apply that, and boom, you are out here on your way to greatness. If you want to learn a specific habit, for example, I have my guitar up there, not up there, down there. What the hell? Yeah, there it is. I have my guitar there, and I want to learn the thing, and I will want to ingrain it into my daily schedule and schedule depending on where you live. And the habit that I will be forming, if I do not know how to form a habit, I'll go ahead and read Atomic Habits, not the entire book cover to cover. No, that's stupid. Instead, what I'll do is I'll look for the chapters which are specifically interesting to me, specifically needed for me. For example, if I have a problem with making it very easy or very obvious, then I'll go and read that chapter instead of reading the entire book. People have a very, very, very specific problem of wanting to read a book cover to cover, otherwise, not feeling like you have not read the book. And I'll give you a very nice quote that you should literally write down in your like a piece of paper and stick it up in front of you. You do not finish the book, you do not finish the content, you finish the problem. If you have a specific problem, you finish the problem, you do not finish anything else. So quote it down, like write it somewhere important that you do not finish the content, you finish the problem. And it was probably Bruce Lee who said that he does not fear a guy who knows 10,000 different punches and have practiced them once. He fears the guy who has known one punch and he has practiced it for 10,000 times. That is what you need to do. You need to know a piece of information and keep applying it until it is over and new problems arise and you need to find new information. You do not need to be swimming in the ocean of information wanting to consume each and everything. It will never work that way. And so with that, you can go and watch ahead the videos that will be popping up in your screen if you want to fix your specific problems. Else, I have a Substack. You can go and check out the link in the description where you will be able to see my daily writing. It kind of is like I'm trying to build the habit of writing daily, and so you can go ahead and have a look. And I write very much interesting things in there. For example, habit psychology, then there is philosophy, and then there is like basically I go out throughout my day and kind of it is a journal at the end of the day about the thing, about the day, but mixed with different viewpoints. And of course, subscribe on YouTube. Have drop your comments down below if you want specific problems solved. And if you really want to, like, if you have a problem on greater level, then of course you can use my Instagram DMs to communicate better with me, and I'll try to reply. And yeah, I mean that's it. And I have uploaded for a long, like if you are a regular, then you know I have uploaded after a long time. It's because I had exams. I had exam season, and my God, the results were not good. And that does not matter at the end of the day. At least that has passed, and I'm going to go back into content creation. And I am back actually. Like you can basically call this a comeback, and I am back here. So it feels good to record after so long. And definitely it was, and the behind the scenes were a bit crazy because my brother was shouting and all. But yeah, it feels good. And wow, I am really excited to get back into content creation, and that this is what I've been planning for a rather long time, and now I am actually executing it. So as always, start if you haven't already.